Enjoy. Start in a comfortable seated position. It might be cross-legged, it might not be, totally up to you. You might have some support underneath you. We'll take a minute or two just to settle into the breath. Your eyes can be opened or closed. Find some height through the spine, but softness in the shoulders. Start to tune into your inhale and exhale. As you're breathing here, just noticing how you're feeling right now. Noticing what you might need in your practice today, and what you might need through the rest of your day or the rest of your evening. You might set an intention. That could be a word or a phrase. And if it doesn't resonate with you, just leave it. Take 5 more breaths, please. Make your way into all fours. We'll just get into the wrists and the feet, the ankles a little bit. So you could tuck your toes under and the palms of the hands facing forward or fingers facing forward, and then lean your weight over to one hand, turn your fingers out a little, lean your weight to the other hand, turn your fingers out a little bit. So you'll do this a couple times. Bringing the fingers around, how much you bring them around totally depends on you. Some of you might have your fingers pointed quite towards your knees, others not so much. That might be too much. It's okay either way. Once you get to your range that's appropriate, move back and forth a couple times. The stretch intensifies when you lean back, which may or may not be a good fit. So you can always adjust if you need to. You don't have to lean back as far. You don't have to lean back at all. And then try the same thing, walking the hands forward again. Lean to one side and the other, eventually bringing the fingers forward. And then you might even turn the fingers in a little bit. The range of motion will be quite different. You're not going to move as far. That's fine. Move back and forth a little bit between the hands and the feet. Forward, walk the fingers forward. Lift your feet up off the floor, circle your ankles a few times, spread your toes out. And then place yourself back down again. So the fingers are spread wide, wrists under the shoulders, hands and fists is okay too. Also forearms would work. Then move through your cat-cow curls around your back. And then arch, pulling the belly forward. This might be the inhale, exhale to drop and round. As you're moving here, start to connect a little bit more with the deep core. Strong, sharp exhale. And you might start to try to pull back at your low belly, pull up at your pelvic floor. All of that happens when you exhale. On the inhale, you're backing off a little bit, just getting a breath in. Stretch your arms a bit more forward. Exhale, push back towards child's pose. Forehead may or may not come to the floor. Inhale, pull up towards all fours. Move through that a couple times. Push back and forward. You could add a little bit more cat-cow curl here. You could round to push back and arch to pull forward. Some students like more extension. So what I mean is when you come forward, your hips might fall a bit more forward. That is appropriate for some bodies, not all, so whatever works. One more thing, you could add a circle. Circle to the side, the front, the side, the back. Go for a couple rounds in each direction. And try the other way. Eventually, push right back to child's pose for a breath or two. While you're there with the forehead down on the mat, you might circle the wrists a few times or flip-flop the hands. Quick side stretch, lift up your torso, stretch your arms over to one side, reach out through your fingers, push your hips back towards your heels. Couple of breaths. Try the other side. As much as you're reaching out into the side, you're trying to press the hips backwards, like you could create some traction. Make your way back through to the center again. Come on up into all fours. And then you might head up towards downward dog. The hands can go a little forward, a little wider. Pinky fingers might touch the sides of the mat. Tuck the toes under, lift up the knees, push the hips up and back. You don't have to be super straight in the legs. Your heels don't need to touch the floor. You do want to let your head hang down. Take 3 breaths. Either from downward dog or drop your knees to all fours. Step your right foot forward to come into a lunge. Take a deep bend into the front knee, lower the back knee down. You might want to pad your knee so you could fold your mat over or you could use a layer to support. And then 3 or 4 times going between this lunge and your hamstring stretch. So you might inhale as you pull forward and exhale as you press back. A couple more times. Come forward again. Tuck your back toes under, lift up your back knee. You'll keep your left hand on the floor, your fingers, and then shift a little bit of weight over there. Bring your right hand to your right hip. Pull your hip back, so that'll help you twist towards the long side of the mat. You can keep the hand on the hip, or you might stretch your arm up. If that angle doesn't feel good, bring the arm back down again. Another option is you could stretch your arm up and over, but again, it depends on your shoulder. Take a round of breath. Lower that arm down. Step your front foot back to downward dog. Round of breath. From downward dog or all fours, step your left foot forward and lower your back knee down. About 4 times. Push back towards that hamstring stretch. Pull forward towards that lunge. I'm keeping my hands still. You might want to move your hands if that feels like a better fit. That's fine, whatever works. A couple more times. The next time you come forward, we'll take that twist. So lifting up the back knee, right hand a little bit over towards its own side, left hand to your hip, pull your hip back, twist your body. This is enough. Arm could raise, or the arm could stretch up and over. Couple of breaths. One more. Lower that arm down, step back to downward dog. Take a round of breath. Step your right foot forward. Lower that back knee down, pat it if you need to. Take a big exhale, wake up your core, lift yourself up so your hands can rest on that front thigh and you can kind of press your chest back a little bit. This works really well. You can stay here or you might stretch your arms up. It's more stabilizing to look down, throws you off a little bit to look forward. Maybe you challenge yourself by looking up. Round a breath. Inhale. Exhale, lower down, all the way back so we can switch sides. Round a breath in the middle. And step your left foot forward. Lower that back knee down. Big exhale, wake up the core, lift up. Relax the shoulders. Stay with the hands here or reach up. A little bit of a balance for sure. Remember, you can stabilize by looking down, but also with your breath, using that strong, sharp exhale, trying to tug back at the low belly, pull up at the pelvic floor, that all helps. Take an inhale. And exhale, lower back down. Downward dog. Round a breath. Step your right foot forward for a lunge. Turn your back toes out so that foot's about parallel to the short side of the mat. We're coming up for Warrior B. Push your feet down, lift yourself up to standing. Bend into the front knee. Check that tracking, toe and knee going in the same direction, knee heading over to the baby toe side, and then stretch out through the arms, reaching front and back. Reverse warrior, back hand to your thigh, front palm flips up, stretch that arm up. This is enough. Or you might lean back a little bit more, activate through the deep core with a strong, sharp breath, lean back. You can look wherever it's best for your neck, your stability too. Come back into Warrior B. Straighten your front leg. Your legs are straight, but the knees aren't locked out. Reach as far forward as you can, coming into triangle pose, and then tip down. You don't need to put a lot of weight down at all. The hand can kind of hover against the leg. Top arm reaches up towards the sky. This is quite a narrow pose, so you can pretend like there's a wall behind you and you're trying to lean back into it. Round a breath. Extended side angle, bend your front knee, rest your front forearm on your thigh, stretch that other arm up and over. Same kind of idea as triangle, like pretend there's a wall behind you, making it a bit more of a back bend. Couple of breaths. Lower down for a lunge. Lift up that back heel so everything points forward. Step your front foot back to downward dog, or all fours, or child's pose. 3 breaths. From all fours, or downward dog, step your left foot forward. Sequencing the second side, Warrior B, turn the toes out, press your feet down, bring yourself up to standing, settle into the shape. Reverse warrior, back hand to your back thigh, lean back a little bit. Maybe leaning back a bit more if that's appropriate. Come back into Warrior B, straighten through that front leg without locking out. Lean as far forward as you can. Eventually you're tipping down. Be light on that leg. Stand out through all parts. both arms, both legs, the spine. Extended side angle, bend into that front knee, rest the arm, back arm up and over. Lots of breath. Come down for a lunge. Back heel lifts up, toes point forward. Step your front foot back. Downward dog, all fours, child's pose, your choice. 3 breaths. Come forward into a high plank. So shift your weight forward. You might need to adjust your hands. They might come a little closer together. Legs might scoot a bit further back behind you. You can keep the knees up or you can lower the knees down. Take a couple breaths here. You might lower the knees down here. Take an inhale and then exhale, lower yourself all the way down. Stretch your legs back behind you. Point your elbows to your heels. The hands might slide down a little bit lower, a little more underneath your shoulders. Start with 3 cobras. Legs are straight and strong, deep core is active. When you inhale, peel your chest away from the floor. It could be a little like this small cobra that I'm doing, or it could be more of a medium or a higher cobra. Lower back down again. Twice more. Adding a little bit of work, lift your chest so it's just hovering away from the floor, and then lift your hands as well. Take a full round of breath. Stretch your arms forward, full round of breath. Bring your arms through the middle, back behind you, round of breath. Finally, straighten, tighten, and lift your legs. Round of breath. Lower back down again. Push back to child's pose. Take about 3 breaths there. Make your way up towards all fours. Coming in to thread the needle, but there's a bit of prep work that I like to do with it as well. So with your right arm, you can inhale to stretch that right arm up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale to pull that arm through like you're almost landing on the side of the head, but you're not quite there. Do that 2 more times. Reach up, inhale. Pull through. Last one. And this time when you pull through, you're landing lightly on the side of the head, on the back of the shoulder. You can stay exactly like this. The hand can stay flat on the floor, or that arm could stretch forward or up, or bend back behind you. Take 2 more breaths. Bring that hand, that left hand, back down to the floor again. Push the hand down, start to straighten your arm. 1 more time, reach your right arm up. Big breath in. And then drop back down. Second side. Inhale, breathe up. Exhale to pull through. 2 more. Last one. Pull through. So you can keep that hand flat on the floor, just like the other side, or stretch it forward, reach up or back. 2 breaths. Release that arm. Push the hand into the floor, start to straighten your arm. One more time, reach that left arm up. Big breath in. And then drop that hand back down again. So 3 options to get into your hips. Depending on what feels the most appropriate for you, there should not be any knee pain. The one that's going to work really well for everybody is when you're lying on your back with your feet flat and your knees bent. Kind of our basic hip opener where you pick up one foot, cross your ankle over your thigh. Maybe the back foot stays still, comes in a little closer, or you pick up and reach through. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is from a seated position. Very similar, same stretch, just a slightly different place to be. You can lean back into your hands, and then you'll pick one foot up, cross your ankle over your thigh, and then to get the stretch stronger, or to get the stretch deeper, kind of walking yourself into it, lifting the chest a little bit. So same stretch, same things going on, it just could be a different option, a better option for you. Third option, may or may not work, is called pigeon pose. For pigeon pose, you'd work probably from a downward dog. That's the way I start it. Bending one knee. I'm bringing my right knee through, so I want my right knee pretty close to my right wrist, and then I'm stretching that back leg behind me, and I might even peek and just make sure my toes point straight back. Now there's a tendency in this shape to shift all the weight over to that bent knee side. If you're doing that, try to even out your hips a little bit more. You could always prop underneath the hips as well. You can stay more upright, come down towards your forearms, or some students lay flat out, whatever feels the best for you. So choose the variation that's the most appropriate, and we'll spend maybe 5 to 6 breaths on each side. I'm gonna do that one on my back. Once you get into that shape, 5 deep breaths. When you're ready, you can switch sides. It might be a completely different experience on the other side. So if you find that, say, pigeon wasn't working well for you, try one of these other variations, the reclined version or the seated version. When you do get into that shape, 5 deep breaths. Once you finish those 5 breaths or so, we'll all be meeting up on our backs. So come make your way here if you aren't already. We can bring the soles of the feet in towards each other. Open the knees out to the sides. So the toes turn forward, soles of the feet turn in. You can bring one hand to rest on your belly, the other hand to rest on your chest. Take 5 slow breaths. You can release your hands. You might use your hands to draw your knees back together. And then stretch your arms out to the side. Have your palms face down. Feet are flat and the legs and the feet are right in towards the center line of your mat. Big exhale, wake up through the deep core, and you'll let your knees drop from side to side, still keeping your feet on the floor. If this doesn't feel like a good fit, if it feels too twisty, what you might do instead is take the feet a little bit wider apart, that windshield wiper shape that we often take, letting the knees drop from side to side there. And we'll all get to that in a breath or two. As you're ready, come back through to center. Walk your feet a little bit wider apart. This time, turn your hands up. Let the knees fall from side to side for your windshield wiper legs. And finally, we'll make our way in towards Shavasana, in towards corpse pose. So you could stick with the feet flat and the knees bent, or you can stretch your legs out along the ground. You can bring your arms a little bit closer in, turn the palms up, chin's a bit tucked in. Feel free to grab any support or any layers that you might need to make yourself cozy. And we'll hang out here for a few minutes. If you're wanting to rest a little longer, just ignore me and stay there as long as you need to. Otherwise, you can start to bring some awareness back to your body. And back to your breath, letting your inhale get a little bit stronger. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can circle out your wrists and your ankles. You might go for a big stretch and a yawn. You can bend your knees, roll over to one side. Hang out here for a breath or two. Press yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands to prayer. Close your eyes, bow your head down. Notice how you feel. Thank yourself for practicing. Thank your body for all its hard work.